All right. So what I'd like to do is talk about some of the techniques we've used and some of maybe the ethical and issues we've had. So we'll talk with cloning. Cloning has been around for quite a while, and the picture on the top, what you're looking at there, that's Dolly. Actually, it's the younger one on the left, and so what we're doing is we're basically most cloning now is done with what's called a nuclear transfer, where we take a cell and we actually remove the nucleus in it, and then we put another nucleus in it now. And so what happens is you get these clone cats or dogs. You can clone your pets now. There's a business very expensive, and then we have Dolly. So what I want you to do is, why would we clone? And first of all, the idea behind this is you want exact copies. This is actually very good at for lab tests. If you're looking for variables like you guys are doing, one of the best things to do is make sure that all of your individuals in your experiment are exactly the same. Now, again, exactly the same is a relative term because of epigenetic inheritance and things like that. So we've been cloning animals for a long time. The white mice have been cloned. Again, you can get your pets. Now, I want to make sure you understand that your pet dies and you have a clone. Now, again, it doesn't come out as an adult cat. It comes out as a kid. And all the things that happen during your life will shape that organism. So Fluffy 2, or whatever you want to call it, is not going to be exactly Fluffy 1. There will be differences. And there's all kinds of things. Now I want to go over why Dolly was considered so important. Now, Dolly is not the first mammal to be cloned by any means. We've actually cloned primates now, so baboons, macaque, I believe. So Dolly was not the first mammal clone, which a lot of people think. But what I want you to know is Dolly was the first mammal clone from an adult cell. She's called Dolly after Dolly Parton because the cell they actually used was from the mother, which is the one up on the top right, from her udder. And so that's where the name came from. Now, the reason I use sheep is this was done in England, and it was done in a college that had sheep, and so it was just the animal that was out the window. So that's what they worked with. And there was a lot of things about cloning that happened, and I want you to understand is when they used the adult cell, they had to kind of reset the clock. And it turned out that Dolly actually ended up with a lot of old sheep diseases at a very young age, like arthritis and some other things. So they assumed that the idea was the clock did not reset itself properly. And it turns out that they've done it now, and there hasn't been a problem. It was something fairly unique to Dolly. Also want you to realize with the cloning process, often it's not successful. It's actually still a very rough process, and maybe only like 10% survive. So we haven't kind of worked it out yet. So you can't clone yourself and send your duplicate to to school while you sleep in bed when school's back in. Again, they come out as babies. There's a movie with I can't even think of the name of it, with Michael Keaton years ago, that was about cloning basically, and they cloned 3 of them, and they actually, something very biologically wrong in that movie, because the was cloned, and it was like a Xerox copy. When you copy a Xerox thing, that every time you copy it, there's more and more damage, and that's not the case. Funny movie then. All right. Stem cells, another one. Okay, so stem cells are cells that pluripotent, which basically means they haven't decided what they're going to be, and that there's all kinds of possibilities, and there's lots of different types of stem cells. Early embryonic stem cells, blastocyst, embryonic fetal stem cells, umbilical stem cells, and adult stem cells. And so the idea is you take these cells and then you can turn them into whatever you want them to be. Lots of controversy on stem cell research because they were taking from fetuses, sometimes aborted fetuses. So lots and lots of protesting going on, what's legal, what's not legal, what's ethical. And it comes out, you don't hear them as much about it now because we're using adult stem cells. And people seem to have less of a issue with that. Stem cell, one state, California, is we have a lab that is doing that up north, and they're coming up for more money. And when that came around to vote for Californians years ago, whether we should support this or not, I'll have to tell you that our department was kind of split half and half, and you would think as biologists they would support this, and so questioning the people in the department and trying to figure out what it came down to, whether it was ethical or not. If they're taking it from adult stem cells, it really does not matter. I think the bigger issue was who should pay for it. Why should California pay for it when the world benefits for it? And then the other attitude, well, somebody has to. So kind of an interesting concept. So what are the benefits? What are the risks? Who can it hurt? What does it mean for you, for your family, others who might not share my view? So lots and lots of questions have come up about stem cells. And we do all kinds of things like, you want matches, but what if you can do it from a stem cell? My Sister's Keeper was a movie that was out about, a girl who was born basically for a bone marrow for her sister who was dying from cancer, from leukemia, and she needed a bone marrow transport, and there was no donor. So really what the parents did is have another kid, and it turned out she matched, and then she started arguing it, whose right is it? Do they have the right to take my bone marrow? And what's very interesting to this is this was actually done right here in Diamond Bar. So that story is about a family here in Diamond Bar. So lots of ethical reasons, legal and social issues. So, I think these sciences are important, like CRISPR and STEL and stem cells and cloning. But the problem is, making sure that we do it ethically, legally, and we're going to personalized medicine, which is a good thing. It's more effective, but then who can afford it? So that is always going to be a problem, and those things need to be dealt with earlier than later. And there's practical applications, like I'm talking about personalized medicine. You can figure out your ancestry now. With a swab, we have agriculture, growing crops, environmental cleanup, and actually crime scene victims. So the last thing I want to talk about is GMOs. That's the new one. GMOs are found in food. If you look over here, you can see how much of the food that we get have GMOs in it now, genetically modified organisms. And I'm telling you, we have no concept. We want labeling or not labeling. You are guinea pigs. We do, in theory, GMOs probably, for the most part, are safe. Probably. But we don't know long term. You are the long term experiment. So just to let you know, you are all going to die. Good luck.